Welcome back to Clarkenomics. In this video called Marginal Analysis, we're going to pick up where I left off in the previous video called Costs and Benefits, starting with the question, how many cups of coffee should you consume? Now, just to recap, we started off with this information here, so marginal benefit. And again, we said that as you consume more cups of coffee from 1 all the way up to 7, your total benefit rises and rises and then flattens off and then starts to fall. And then we looked at our marginal values as the difference between our total values. So again, that first cup of coffee, you had 0 total benefit before you drank any coffee. $2, that's a change of $2. $3.50, that's a change from 2 of $1.50. $4.50, that's a change from $3.50 of 1. And so we said marginal was the difference in total. We also graphed our total benefit. It looked like this. Rose, but by smaller amounts each time, and then started to fall. And then we graphed our marginal benefit, which consistently went down every single time. Ended up crossing the x-axis and becoming negative. So looking at this information and asking ourselves the question, how many cups of coffee should we consume? Let's take a look at that. You probably know the ballpark of where we should be here. Let's talk about that fourth cup. Now that fourth cup of coffee gives you 50 cents worth of marginal benefit. Let's look at why. Again, that third cup of coffee gave you $4.50, after drinking that third cup of coffee, your total benefit was $4.50. When you drank that fifth cup of coffee, your total benefit rose to $5. So that means you got 50 cents worth of marginal benefit from that fourth cup, making your total benefit $5. But now let's talk about the fifth cup of coffee. The fifth cup of coffee gave you $0 worth of marginal benefit. Well, how can you tell? Well, your total benefit after drinking 4 cups was $5. Then you drank a fifth cup and your total benefit remained $5. And so there you go. So the question that you might be wondering is, should you consume this cup of coffee? If it's not giving you any marginal benefit at all. Well, let's ignore cost, as it says at the top of the slide there for a second. If we strictly ignore cost and only look at the marginal and total benefit values, drinking that fifth cup of coffee, you'll be equally well off either way. It doesn't matter. Economists have a term for this. You are indifferent. You could drink the fifth cup of coffee, you could not drink the fifth cup of coffee, and you would be equally well off either way. You are indifferent. So if somebody asks you, hey, do you want that fifth cup of coffee? You just kind of say, shrug. So the answer to this question, if we're ignoring costs, is 4 or 5 cups of coffee. That is the ideal quantity to consume. And if you look at, again, the previous one, the marginal benefit, there is your fifth cup right there. That gave you no marginal benefit. The fourth cup was the last one that gave you positive marginal benefit. So you'd be okay with consuming that cup. You'd be okay with, you'd be indifferent towards consuming that cup. And this cup, you definitely don't want to consume because that would give you negative marginal benefit. So strictly looking at a benefit, you would consume either 4 or 5. But let's say we throw cost in there. We said that a cup of coffee costs $2 at the store or the cafe, whatever. And so every time you buy a cup of coffee, your marginal cost was $2. There's our super exciting graph of marginal cost. Yay. Now, when we look at marginal cost and marginal benefit on the same graph, and now I've put them in the same table as well, we'll start off with this point. That point is coming to us from the first row of this table, right here, right? 1 cup of coffee consumed, that's our X value. Marginal cost, $2. Marginal benefit, $2. That's 2 points, they're just on, overlapping. So now, we'll keep graphing. So this red line, that's going to represent our marginal cost, which as you know, is going to stay constant at $2. And our marginal benefit, as we also know, because of diminishing marginal benefit, diminishing marginal utility, whatever you'd like to say, is going to keep declining. So let's take a look. As you consume more cups of coffee, the marginal cost doesn't change, but your marginal benefit gets less every single time until even it crosses into the negative territory down there. So now what you kind of have to ask yourself is, okay, what is the proper amount of coffee to drink if we do factor in cost? So the rule is you should only do something if the marginal benefit of that action is greater than the marginal cost. And that should make sense, right? For each additional unit of a decision you make, That's a marginal decision. And if the benefit you get from doing that thing is greater than the cost, it takes to do that thing, you should do that thing. If the cost is greater than the benefit, you really shouldn't do that thing. So just to kind of put this a little bit more clearly, view it like a traffic light a little bit. If marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost, it means each time you perform that action, you're becoming better off. Your total happiness is rising. So keep going. That's a green light. If marginal benefit is exactly equal to marginal cost, you are, if you remember the term, indifferent. Doesn't matter to you. That's kind of your stoplight right there. And if your marginal benefit of doing something is actually less than the cost of doing that thing, you're going to be worse off than you were before. The cost is greater than the benefit. The benefit does not outweigh the cost. So you've done too much. So when you look at that graph again and you ask yourself, okay, what's the optimal, the best, optimal just means best, what's the best quantity of coffee for me to consume given this information? The correct answer is just one, because I'm actually even indifferent towards that first cup of coffee because I have to pay $2 for it and I get $2 worth of benefit from it. But after that, there is no amount of coffee where the benefit becomes greater than the cost to me. It only actually gets worse the more that I do, because that second cup of coffee cost me $2, but I only get $1.50 worth of marginal benefit from it. The third cup of coffee costs $2. This one only gives me $1 worth of marginal benefit. And so the correct answer, the optimal number of cups of coffee to drink, is 1. But that was a weird looking graph. So let's do a different graph and see what this kind of usually looks like. So let's switch out coffee for tea. We're going to do marginal cost slash marginal benefit on the y-axis, just like the previous graph. On the x-axis, we're doing quantity, cups of tea, not coffee, tea consumed. So this time, let's say that the marginal cost of a cup of tea is $2. We'll say tea has the same price as coffee. I don't really drink a lot of tea, so I don't really know how this goes, but let's just imagine. However, you get $4 worth of marginal benefit from drinking that first cup of tea. So the marginal benefit of that first cup of tea is way higher than it cost you. You get $4 worth of benefit, it only cost you $2. So that's good. That's a green light. That means keep going. So you buy a second cup of tea. Now the marginal cost stays the same here because they're not changing the price of tea depending on you. It's just tea costs $2 at the cafe. But your marginal benefit from that second cup is only $3.50 now. You have some diminishing marginal benefit happening here. But should you still consume that second cup of tea? Absolutely you should, because you're getting $3.50 worth of benefit and it's only costing you $2. So the benefit outweighs the cost. Green light, keep going. And you can see where we're going with this. It gets smaller, the gap between the two gets smaller and smaller. But even that fourth cup of tea there, should you consume that? Definitely. You get $2.50, $2.50 worth of marginal benefit. It still only costs you $2. So the benefit you get is greater than the cost. That's a green light, keep going. Now the fifth cup of tea, this is the point of, and hopefully you can guess this by now, this is indifference, right? Because that fifth cup of tea cost you $2 and you got exactly $2 worth of marginal benefit. So technically you would be indifferent towards that fifth cup, but we're going to assume that you go ahead and drink that fifth cup. Now the sixth cup of tea, that's where things change, because with that sixth cup of tea, the marginal benefit you get from it's only $1.50, but it costs you $2. So should you buy that sixth cup of tea? No, because again, you get $1.50 worth of benefit and it costs you $2. The cost outweighs the benefit, and the seventh cup is even worse. Only $1 worth of benefit and it still costs you $2. So again, looking at this from like a red light, green light perspective, up until the point where those two lines cross, that's kind of our green area. That's the keep going. Yes, the marginal benefit is only slightly larger than the marginal cost, but it's still larger. Keep going. You hit the point of indifference there, and then you cross over into no, do not keep going, right? Any time past where those two lines cross, you've got a cost greater than a benefit. That's bad. That's going to make you worse off. So the optimal point of tea consumption would be, of course, where those two lines cross. That is the last point where marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost. Technically, they're equal at that point. So the rule is you'll be optimized where marginal benefit is equal to marginal cost. So hopefully that helps you make some better decisions. A lot of this is hard to measure in real life, but the principles still apply. Thanks for watching.